welcome everyone. It's great to have everybody on this call and great to have a Java with Giles after all these months. So, yeah, no kidding. Mayor, we have a sponsor this morning, our friends at Friendly Auto. So I'm going to turn it over to them for just a couple of minutes and then we'll get started.
Perfect.
Steve and Felicia.
Well, there she is. Good morning. I'm Steve Rosansky. I'm the owner of Friendly Auto Centers in lovely Mesa, Maine and Higley, serving the automotive industry for 43 years. We've been here 6 years in Mesa. We're the #1 shop rated by AAA. It'll be 3 years in a row. We are looking to win our 3rd year in a row, Best Shop in Phoenix by AAA. We've just been nominated for the BBB Torch of Ethics Award, and we just won
second year in a row,
and we just were awarded the Carfax Shop of the Year in Phoenix. So a lot of good stuff going on. We have 22 service bays, and we deal with mostly local businesses. So the money stays in Mesa, stays in Arizona. We're not a franchise. We're strictly, one shop, one owner. I don't look to open up more shops. Me and my wife are the host of Drive Friendly Radio Show, which is Saturday mornings at 1580 The Fanatic Sports Radio. I've been doing radio for a little better than 20 years, so now we took it out here. So we have a pretty popular show on Saturday mornings. Many of you have been guests on the show, and it's a lot of fun. So tune in on Saturday mornings. What time? 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Facebook
And we also do
party.
Facebook watch parties and live, and it's all over the place. So we like to tell everybody, drive friendly. Don't drive aggressive. Drive friendly. We have these cool bumper stickers and handouts and stuff like that. If you ever need anything for your car, please come and see us. We offer a lifetime parts and labor warranty on everything we do. So you only pay once for auto repairs. I think that's it, right?
And we sponsor local charities, one of them being our great friend Liz Paulus,
College
down over there in
Bound.
College Bound. She's going to be a guest on our radio show this week. We're going to talk about the gala coming up for the non-gala fundraiser.
Yes, virtual fundraiser.
Virtual fundraiser.
And we give a lot back. We give a lot back to our community. We've had water drives, food drives, clothing drives, pretty much every kind of drive you could imagine. So,
Drive friendly.
Drive friendly. So now we'll turn it over to who? To Mayor Giles?
Sally.
To Sally. I'm sorry. Back to
Oh,
Sally.
okay, I'll take it. Hey, Mayor, we just want to say, obviously, congratulations on your re-election.
Thank you. That's a great background. I appreciate
Yes,
that.
we voted
Yes,
for
it
you.
is a great background.
Thank you.
Yeah. Everybody's very excited. So we're going to turn it over to you for some updates. What's going on in Mesa?
Oh, great. Thank you. Sally's heard me say this a bunch of times, so she's going to try not to cry. But there's a couple of things you need to know about me right off. Is that number one, I'm a politician. Obviously, I was just my name was plastered all over the streets for the last several weeks, and I can't persuasively convince anybody to the contrary that I'm not a politician. And then number two is before that, for 25 years, I practiced law as an attorney. So the combination of those two things have created in me a highly developed ability to be extremely boring. So in order to overcome that, it's important that this be a dialogue rather than a monologue. So please, hopefully you'll interrupt me and you'll raise your hand or you'll just interject. Well, what about this or what about that? Because I'm anxious to chat about the issues that are on your mind relative to the city of Mesa. But I'll just kind of kick it off by saying the obvious, which is we're obviously living in very interesting times right now, and going through the COVID-19 experience. I think has been monumental for all of us in just many ways. And occasionally I try to reflect on that and ask myself, what are the lessons that I'm supposed to be learning, as a result of this experience. And there are some things I think that have been made more obvious to me about our community and about, what I, as a member of that community, maybe ought to be doing to try to make things better for those that I live with. And a couple of some of these observations, I don't know, coincidentally, but they've kind of dawned on me as I've participated in some of the food distribution events that we've had in our city. I'm proud of the way that our community has really rallied around each other and stepped up in multiple ways. But one of the, at the beginning of this experience, one of the things the city of Mesa tried to do early on was to reach out to as many people as we could, to do just a big community engagement event, to ask people what are the needs of the city. What should we be focusing the resources of the city on that would be, have the most impact to the most people. And you may recall at the very beginning of this experience, we were all, the first thing that happened is our grocery store shelves emptied. People kind of hunkered down and went out and bought all the toilet paper they could, fit in their car. And so back in that environment, when we were asking people, what are you worried about? The first thing that came back was food insecurity. And so as a result of that, we immediately tried to respond, and the city of Mesa really jumped in a strong way into partnerships with our food banks, United Food Bank in a big way, but also Midwest Food Bank and a lot of the food pantries and other folks that were engaged in addressing food insecurity. And so I recall that the very first, one of those very first events, I was there to volunteer, and as I was helping, I very quickly became concerned with the fact that there was just this was before we figured out how to do this and allow people to remain in their cars. But there was a long line of senior citizens that were standing next to each other, literally wrapping around the building, many of them wearing face masks, and this was back before everybody wore face masks. And I could tell that they were not only elderly, but they also had underlying medical conditions. And obviously, these were the people that we did not want, standing in line to get food. And I thought how tragic that they're so concerned about food that they're willing to put their lives on the line to come out and address that need. So it just brought home to me in a powerful way that we have a real divide. There's a disconnected population of seniors who didn't have a church group or grandchildren or neighbors that had taken them under their wing. They were kind of on their own, to figure out how to address that challenge. And so as a result of that, we rallied with some of the do-gooders in our community and had this adopted grandparent program that I think has been effective in helping folks in that situation. So that's one divide in our community that I think we need to figure out how to, even after the COVID challenge has been resolved, that's been made more obvious to me, and we need to build bridges between the generational divide, but also the kind of the tale of two cities that we have going on in Mesa, where we have the haves and the have-nots. And one of the things I love about Mesa is it's a great combination of people who need help and people who have the resources and the inclination and the sense of calling, to step up and help people. So I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, because that's great that we have those two things going on at the same time. Another similar experience that occurred to me during one of these food distribution events is just the digital divide that is prevalent in our community. I was at an elementary school. Mesa Public Schools has been a great source of providing food to people in our community throughout this process as well. They've got drive-up facilities in a lot of schools. All the kids that are on free and reduced lunch, throughout this process, and even not just those kids, but everybody could come to public schools and get food. And I was at one of these events. It happened to be at an elementary school where my son-in-law is the principal in a neighborhood that has, almost exclusively free and reduced lunch students. And as the families would drive up to get their food, they also were adamant about picking up packets for their kids to work on their schoolwork. And that's because a lot of these families didn't have access to the internet. The curriculum had shifted over to an online curriculum, and so most of if you had the ability, if you had laptops or smartphones, your kids were sitting down at the kitchen table doing their schoolwork. But for a lot of the families, particularly at this particular elementary school, they were there for the food, but more, just as importantly, they were willing to pull over and park and wait for 10 minutes to pick up a packet, for a third grade kid, because they were anxious for their kids to be able to continue to receive their education. So the copy machines inside this little elementary school were just, working 24 hours a day, kicking out third and fourth and fifth grade packets, for these families to continue their kids' education. And so we have a digital divide in our community. And I think even those of us who are somewhat affluent, and have working internet in our homes, I think many of us have discovered over the last few weeks that when you've got adults, maybe more than one adult in a home that's working remotely, and then you combine that with one or two kids that are going to school remotely, your bandwidth is not capable of handling that. And so that's an infrastructure challenge in our community that, again, has been made very clear to me as a result of the pandemic. So going forward, on my list of lessons learned from COVID is that we need to be better at providing infrastructure in our community so that we can have what I'm calling ubiquitous Wi-Fi, everywhere in Mesa. We want you to be able to have access to high-speed internet. We want to have fiber up and down the streets of our city, so that whether you live in a affluent neighborhood or a less than affluent neighborhood, your devices are going to work, and your kids are going to be able to go to school, and you're going to be able to have 2 or 3 devices going on in a house and function. I think people, even 4 or 5 years ago, when people talked about Wi-Fi and bandwidth, being an essential utility, some of us kind of rolled our eyes and thought, well, you may be taking that a little too far. It's not the equivalent of water and air conditioning and some of the essential services that we rely on or that we think of utilities. But I've come to the conclusion that it is. In order for families and individuals to have a meaningful, opportunity to be successful in life, we need to consider access to that technology as a utility. So I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on that, because in order for us to go forward with addressing that in a meaningful way, we're going to have to dedicate some serious city resources to extending more conduit throughout our neighborhood. Conduit are, the pipes that you put in streets that then the technology companies can put their fiber cables through that and get that out to all the neighborhoods and all the businesses in our community. That's, I think, a very legitimate role for city government to play. We've done it to a large extent, but like I say, I've come to the conclusion, many of us, our city manager included, have come to the conclusion that we can do a better job of that. You guys are doing a really bad job of stopping me and asking me questions and doing a dialogue. So I'm just going to keep talking until you stick your finger, one of your fingers up at me and ask a question. Yes, Bob.
So I did actually ask everybody to kind of post those questions in the chat so that we can relay them to you.
Here we go.
So I do have a couple of questions for you. The first question is actually not specific for you, but I think it's a good segue for you to talk about a specific program. It's a question about the Small Business Assistance Program. The question was whether or not someone could apply for the assistance in the second phase if they had received money through the first phase. And I know that they can, but I thought I might open it up to you to talk just briefly about that.
Thank you. Perfect softball. I appreciate it. Back to that, the community outreach thing that I talked about earlier, right after food insecurity, closely following was economic security, particularly for small business people, and particularly for the small business people that maybe didn't qualify for some of the federal assistance, the PPP and the SBA loans and things like that. So that's when we launched this small business assistance program as part of the Mesa Cares initiative. And the first round of that was grants for people to help them, small businesses that hadn't previously qualified with rent and utilities, and I'm happy to say we passed out about 500 checks to 500 different businesses for that. But then the next part of that is this, again, technical assistance program. Technical assistance, frankly, I think is going to have a bigger impact on the business than the checks that we passed out. And so between the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, the DMA, Benedictine University, Cahoots, there's a lot of great organizations that have come together that are great at helping small businesses negotiate the complex world we live in, and how to have a presence online, how to just a lot of nuts and bolts, practical assistance in how to function and how to have a business that is extremely valuable. I know I started my own, I left and started my own law practice back in, I think, 1995. And I thought I was fairly well prepared as an attorney to do that. I'd been practicing for several years and knew how to do the work, but I was wholly unprepared to be a small business person, and to know how to function and how to in that environment. So, so to answer Bob's question, yes. Whether or not you were participating in the first round, getting those grants for rent and utilities, totally separate from that, please do apply for the technical assistance program, and you won't be denied. I mean, we don't say no to people for that, and we're anxious for everyone to participate in that. I had a great experience a week ago. I was at Dixon's Jewelers in downtown Mesa, and they were one of the recipients of one of those big checks. And Michelle there said, "This is great, but I got to tell you a story. We signed up for the technical assistance program, and I went online and took a class on how to improve my my Google search, responses for my business, and we were dramatically better, after that. I didn't realize how much I didn't know about how to be good at that. And then just a couple of days later, a gentleman came in on a Saturday and spent like $2,800, between getting, a few things fixed and buying this and that. And 100% this guy came in because I'd gone through that Google class. So yeah, I please do help, please look at it, sign up for it, spread the word that there's a lot of really great resources that are part of that technical assistance program that unquestionably will have an impact in improving your business. So it's kind of a hard sell.
So next question.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about the recent Amazon announcement and some of the economic impact that'll have on Mesa.
Sure. Right immediately to the east of Boeing is at Higley. There's a huge building it's a spec building that was built by Opus. I think it's like 60-70,000 square feet. It casts its a shadow all over town, and that building those types of buildings is really smart right now in the city of Mesa, because our economic development people will tell you that we constantly have huge businesses like Amazon that are coming to Mesa and saying, "Hey, we need a 100,000 square foot building, and we need it tomorrow." And so the smart people that are developing real estate are building these kind of buildings. So that building has been is turnkey ready, for someone like Amazon to come in and bring hundreds of jobs and utilize 80,000 square feet of building. So Amazon was looking, you know, they're buying, kind of gearing up in the Phoenix area in a big way. And so they have these big Amazon, you know, fulfillment centers that are literally like 1 million square feet. You know, they have their own environment inside. It's just amazing. And then they have the last mile facilities that are still gigantic, and that's where a lot of people work. That's where the actual vehicles that make the deliveries to your home come in and the orders are put in, and it's like a huge postal operation. And that's what that building is going to become. It's going to be the last mile, you know, where the trucks actually get the stuff put in their truck to get to your house. And so the building itself, you know, like I say, is huge right now, but they're adding to it because this is where a lot of people are actually going to come to work. You know, a lot of cars are going to be parked there. A lot of the vehicles that deliver your orders to your home, you know, are going to come through there. So it's going to be a very busy place, and it's going to have. I mean, we've all become used to e-commerce as as part of our daily lives, right? I mean, and hopefully, as small business people, we've learned to adapt to that, and because it's probably not a good impact on a lot of small businesses in Mesa, but those of us that realize that e-commerce is here to stay, you know, hopefully maybe we're taking advantage of that. So it's a big deal. Amazon is moving ahead fast and furious, but the building is already constructed. So it's going to happen very quickly, and Amazon is just moving in and making it functional.
So real quick, I'll just remind everybody, if you do have a question, please don't hesitate to post it in the chat, and either Sally or myself will relay it for you. Next question. Wondering if you have any insight as to
The suspense is building, isn't it?
I think he's reading a question about insight on Snowbirds coming back.
Oh, boy, we sure hope they're coming, right? I mean, that's when we're all anxious about that. Here's my crystal ball projection on Snowbirds. Typically, you know, for the last million years, you know, we've kind of had kind of a economic cycle that we've gone through in Mesa, where, you know, during the summertime, things kind of get real slow because everybody leaves town. You know, we refer to February as Christmas Christmas in March is spring training, right? Because the whole world comes to Mesa for baseball, and because it's the perfect weather. So and so we usually get our sales tax in the month of March is just about the same as it is in December, you know, because that's just the cycles that we have here in Mesa as far as economic activity goes between snowbirds and baseball fans. And we just kind of hang on and try to survive during the summer. Well, we've been very nervous, and Mesa is very reliant on sales tax dollars. We're the largest city in the United States that does not have a primary property tax. So that's just, we've kind of got a different model for how we collect taxes around here. Very dependent on sales tax. So we were extremely nervous, you know, for the economic downturn, you know, the kind of the 1-2 punch of going into the summer months and, you know, people being out of work and not having money and not buying stuff as a result of, of that. Well, come to find out, our sales tax for June and July are higher than they were last year. And we're going, what the heck is going on here? We thought we were in the middle of an economic downturn. And so I don't know why that is. My guess is, I think, you know, a lot of people who, because we're kind of in a quarantine scenario, a lot of people, they're not getting in their cars and going to visit their family in the state of Washington, or going to San Diego for the weekend, or, you know, driving back east. You know, travel is down, tourism is down, not just people coming to Mesa, but people leaving Mesa. So I suspect we will, but I mean, the winter's still going to be horrendous, right? I mean, everybody who lives in Chicago and in Wisconsin, you know, they're still going to be buried under 3 feet of snow. And I think a lot of them will say, well, we might as well, you know, be in Arizona, you know, fighting COVID there than snowed under here. So we just don't know what's going to happen. It might be that people are intimidated by the virus and they're staying home because they're hunkering down, or not. I just don't know what's going to happen. But this summer, surprisingly, sales tax has been better than it's ever been.
That's good. Do you have any updates on spring training?
No. I mean, it's been fascinating to watch, you know, the way that they're playing baseball right now, right? And they're playing it under very controlled situations without fans. And so let's assume that they're going to try to do that the COVID situation doesn't get better, you know, that a vaccine, you know, doesn't come in and just be the holy grail that solves all our problems. Well, then that means that they might just try to follow the same model next year, but they're still going to need spring training, you know, to get ready for playing baseball. So I think maybe worst case scenario is we still have spring training, but we don't have fans, right? We follow the model that they're doing now, which would have some impact, but that's not what we want. We want a lot of people in you know, buying hot dogs and beers and Cubs hats and paying the ho-ho cams for parking. You know, that's the regular model. But if you look at the NBA, you look at Major League Baseball, it'll be interesting to see how the NFL, you know, handles this, right? I guess that's a long-winded way of saying I don't know, but I think professional sports is still happening, and it's such a huge business. You know, people, it's billions or trillions of dollars, so people just don't. They're not willing to just shrug their shoulders and say, no, I guess we're not going to play baseball.
Next question. Are there any other plans for federal CARES dollars? Are there any other programs in the pipeline or things that are kind of coming down before the end of the year?
Another great question. The current, just to remind you what you may already know, back in, I think it was early April, the federal government put $90 million into the city of Mesa's checking account. And the rules, and that's been a great blessing, at the same time, a great challenge, you know, for us to figure out appropriately what to do with that money. There certainly are, you know, there's a million strings attached to that money. And so, but I think I'm really very proud of the way that we have been stewards of that money and got it quickly into the hands of people that needed it. But that money, some of the strings that are attached to that money is, you know, it's like Cinderella, you know, on the midnight on the 31st of December, you know, the golden slippers disappear. You know, that evaporates. We can't spend any of that money after December 31st. Now the problem is, it wouldn't be nice if we knew that COVID was over on December 31st. But it's not going to be. So we're going to have all the same challenges without federal assistance. So that's why Congress has been. They understand that, and they've been, you know, in the midst of wrestling with this issue for a few months. A couple of months ago, the Democrats in the House of Representatives passed legislation called the HEROES Act that authorized $3 trillion, you know, of additional COVID relief. And a couple $100 billion of that $3 trillion was to go to state and local governments. And it's similar to the funds that, you know, the first round of funds that we got in April. The Senate has not done anything. And so, so it doesn't do any good for the House to do something and the Senate not to. So it was about 2 weeks ago, you know, we were very, very close to the Senate and the House, you know, coming together and compromising. You know, the House was at 1 trillion, the Senate was at, the House was at 3 trillion, the Senate was at 1 trillion. So you're like, come on, you guys, obviously you just settle on 2 trillion, let's move on and help people. But that didn't happen. I don't know, everyone seems to think that Mitch McConnell and everyone says, yes, there needs to be more assistance, we're going to do it. So the answer seems to be that inevitably it's going to happen, but it's stuck in the political machine right now. And most people agree that state and local government assistance is going to be a part of that, but it's a negotiating, item right now.
Okay. Next question. Any guidance in regards to self-quarantine for visitors that come into Mesa? So there was specifically the question was asking if Snowbirds are going to have to quarantine for 14 days when they come into town. So.
Yes, that's yet to be determined, right? We have seen that. I mean, Arizona, as you know, was the victim of that. Just a month or so ago, when people from Arizona would go to New York, they were told, you have to stay in your room for 2 weeks and you can't go out and interact with New Yorkers. So we have seen some of that happening right now. So I would hesitate to speak authoritatively saying that is or isn't going to happen. It seems like we've got hot spots, that are popping up all over the country, and some states have adopted those kinds of rules. And Arizona, Governor Ducey has not done that to this point. Even when New York was red hot and Arizona was cold, we didn't have a quarantine in place rule. So that would be a departure, from the way the state has handled it in the past. But I couldn't tell you unequivocally that's not going to happen, but I would guess that it's not.
Okay. Next question. Is the city of Mesa working with the Arizona Coyotes to obtain a more permanent location for their new stadium?
Wow.
Left field?
No, not at all. I mean, I know that there's newspaper reporters they're sniffing around asking this question. So I don't know if any of them are on the call right now. The Coyotes have reached out to the city of Mesa to look, to explore options for a place to go. I think the city of Glendale built them an arena several years ago, and there's been a lot of agreement and disagreement, as to whether or not that's a good location and what the long-term home of the Coyotes is going to be. And there's been for a while they had a spot in Tempe, where ASU was going to be a party to it as well, but I don't think there's sentiment in the political sentiment or support in the city of Mesa for the city being a financial partner in building some sort of a stadium for them. We have a provision in our city charter that requires that anytime we build a sports related facility, that has to be voter approved. So there's a lot of hoops that would have to be jumped through before the city of Mesa had any kind of a role, in owning or contributing to a facility to be used as a stadium. Now, that being said, I think it would be. So I'll tell you exactly what I told the Coyotes. I think you ought to look at places in the East Valley, because I think that's where your fans are. And there's a few, wonderful sites, at the intersection of some major freeways that I think would make fabulous locations for something like that. And so please do, go spend $1 gazillion and build a beautiful stadium. I think that'd be great. But as far as, the city of Mesa playing a role in subsidizing that, I think, I wouldn't put any money on that.
Excellent. Next question. Can you share what you know about what Mesa Public Schools is doing to get children back on campus as soon as possible?
Yes. Boy, I'm sure glad I'm not on the Mesa School Board right now. I have in spite of being 60 years old, I have a 16-year-old son who is a junior at Mountain View High School. And so, we have skin in this game. This is an issue that has impact on my family. In addition to that, I have 8 grandchildren, 5 of whom are enrolled in Mesa Public Schools. And on any given day, My wife is the principal of the Giles Elementary School, and we have, you know, grandkids scattered around the house on their laptops, you know, going to school. So this is what we talk about at my house. And I have been following the Mesa School Board meetings on this topic for the last couple of weeks, and I have a lot of admiration for our school board members and our administrators, because they have really been wrestling with this issue mightily. And where we're at right now is, you know, there's a push and a pull, a push and a tug here. People are concerned about going back early and exposing particularly, you know, the school teachers and the adult staff, you know, to the spread of the virus. I think the consensus is that the kids are more resilient than adults, you know, to the virus, but kids can spread the virus. So the question is, do you, you know, potentially put, you know, the 60-year-old kindergarten teacher at risk, you know, by asking her to go back into the classroom? The tug on the other hand is that our kids need to be back in school, you know, for their own mental and emotional health. You know, it's not good for them to be you know, quarantined at home. We need, it's in everyone's best interest to have the kids back in school for all of those social and emotional issues, let alone academic progress. So they're trying to strike a balance there. How can you, and maybe it's a hybrid, you know, maybe the kids come back 2 days a week and they're home 3 days a week, or, and you're seeing some of that going on in some of the surrounding school districts. I should say that the city of Mesa has 4 school districts, K-12 school districts, you know, in addition, Mesa Public Schools is most of it. Mesa Public Schools is the largest school district in the state, 65,000 kids, you know, that's huge. But 1/3 of Gilbert Public Schools lives in Mesa, Arizona. And Queen Creek Public Schools, all of the Eastmark, Cadence, you know, southeast part of Mesa, the brand new Eastmark High School, that's all 100% in Mesa, but it's Queen Creek Public Schools. And then there's a portion of Higley Public Schools that's in Mesa as well. So when I need to remember when I'm talking to schools that I need to call, you know, 4 different school superintendents to really have the right conversation. But to answer your question, the latest, as I understand it, and my wife could give you the details more than I, is that the school board has announced that they are, what the Mesa Public Schools has said is, once we make the decision to go back, it's going to take us 2 weeks to make that happen. You know, for the teachers to get everything ready for the classroom doors to be open and for kids to be back in desks. So they've said they're shooting for the middle of September now for that to happen. And so they've started let's get the classrooms ready for the kids to come back. But there are some benchmarks that the county health department has issued saying before schools should go back, they should be at these levels, you know, of attainment for positive test results. And so I'm encouraging everyone to go get tested for COVID right now, whether you have symptoms or not, you know, especially if you don't have. 40 to 50% of the people that are walking around with COVID right now don't know it because they're either pre-symptomatic or asymptomatic. And so for us to have, to get ahead of this thing, you know, we've got to stop thinking that, oh, I shouldn't tax the medical, you know, system by going in and getting tested because I don't think I have it. Everybody needs to go get tested. And then probably 2 weeks later, you need to go get tested again. And 2 weeks after that, you need to go get tested again. Because that's how, countries and cities and states get ahead of this thing, is by finding out who has it. And then you can self-quarantine, or we can do the contact tracing, you know, and you can put out an email and say, hey, I'm sorry I went to your birthday party yesterday. I just, you know, tested positive for COVID today. And we can, you know, we can start corralling each other and preventing the spread of the virus. So, I'm sorry, again, a long-winded answer to your question, but Mesa Public Schools has announced that they've started the process of preparing to have kids come back on campus. Please, if you're a parent of a Mesa Public Schools student, you know, as I am, you get, seems like an email and a phone call every day, with the latest update as to what to expect. But everyone is working very hard because we all understand that kids need to be back in school for their own, for academic reasons, but also just for social and emotional reasons.
Mayor, could you comment on a couple of things? Could you comment on first the transportation bond that's coming up, and then also just what's happening with our homeless?
Sure. Thank you, Sally. You may have noticed on the street corners now, there's a yes on question 1 signs that are popping up. Question 1 is a transportation bond. It's a $100 million bond to build and rehab streets in the city of Mesa. Particularly if you live in the southeast part of Mesa, you're seeing congestion on our streets. They're not they don't have the capacity that they should, and we need to build some new streets out there. Now, we debated whether to put this on the ballot because, again, we're in a economic downturn. People might not be generous in thinking, yeah, now's the right time to go build some new streets. But by asking the voters for $100 million, we get $160 million because there's this thing called Prop 400 that is the regional half-cent sales tax that we all pay that puts money into a kitty, that's shared regionally. And the way we access that money is by matching some funds. And so this is a strategic time. Some communities are not being particularly aggressive right now in maintaining and building streets. And so there's some money that's sitting there that we can access if we want. So the message on this $100 million bond is we get $160 million if we spend $100 million. And there are parts of Mesa that we've got some aging infrastructure. There are some of the big intersections that you go through. You might notice your tires rumble a little bit because we've got some potholes and things aren't quite, worn out. And then if you live in Southeast Mesa or you drive between Mesa and Queen Creek or just got to Gateway Airport, you'll notice that we're behind in growth. We need to catch up to the growth that's occurred out there. So it's a smart idea to vote for yes on question 1. And the other issue that Sally asked about is homelessness. Before COVID hit, I think we were all realizing, oh my gosh, we have an escalating homeless situation in the city of Mesa. And it's a regional problem. The city of Phoenix has been struggling with it mightily for several years, and they've borne the brunt of it. And the CAS facility that takes in kind of the hardcore homeless folks, is in Phoenix, and I'm grateful to them for shouldering a lot of that. Mesa is a close second when it comes to providing homeless services. We've got the East Valley Men's Shelter and a lot of great nonprofits in the city of Mesa that are, Paz de Cristo and St. Vincent de Paul and Save the Family and others that are just really doing God's work, helping folks that are down on their luck. So this was an issue, long before COVID showed up in Mesa that we've been trying to get better at. And then when COVID comes, that complicates things because you've got an at-risk population that we don't want, to get sick and it's kind of very fertile territory, for that population to really be impacted by COVID. And so we've been using some of the COVID money that I told you about earlier as part of this Operation Off the Streets program to help those people that are particularly at risk. So we don't want people urban camping in the city of Mesa. We want them, spending the night someplace other than in our parks and in our alleys and on the railroad tracks. So we have the hospitality industry during this downturn has been decimated. So, hotels and motels literally are just shutting down, because they can't keep the doors open. And so we have been trying to kill two birds with one stone here. And for the last few months, we've been renting up to 85 motel rooms a night. And we have navigators who is what they're called, that work for community bridges. So it's not just, hey, you're homeless, come spend the night in a motel. It's, hey, will you accept help? Will you accept wraparound services? Will you, become a part of the system? And so the folks that we've been extending these hotel room nights to, they're also getting assistance. It's part of a plan to get them off the street. It's not. It's more than a bed. It's getting them enrolled in programs. So the silver lining, to the COVID storm has been that we've been able to. It's facilitated us really getting to know our homeless population a little better, and having a way to connect to them, to get them off the street and get them more involved in getting assistance.
Thank you.
So I know we have just a few minutes left, and there are two topics that have come up that I thought maybe I would see if you could touch on briefly. One is the Education Promise Program rolling out in 2021, and the other is Mesa becoming a dementia-free city. And I thought maybe you might want to talk to each of those.
Thank you very much. Yes, one of our ongoing priorities as a community, second to protecting the health and safety of our community during the COVID crisis, I would say that we still are maintaining our making a priority trying to improve the education attainment of our community, and so that means we want more kids in preschool, but it also means and the city plays a role in that through our Mesa K Ready program, but it also means that we have a goal as part of this Arizona Achieve 60 goal to have at least 2 years of post-high school education, for kids coming out of high school in Mesa. And a great tool to use to achieve that goal is Mesa Community College. We would love it if kids, and also EVIT, there's other programs. We're not necessarily saying that everyone that the answer for everyone is to pursue a 4-year, college diploma. It's not. There's a lot of people that will be far more successful financially, if they take advantage of some of the other great programs that are out there for post-high school training. So we've announced what's called the Mesa College Promise Program. And what that is if you're if you graduate from a Mesa high school and you can jump through a few hoops, you have to take the FAFSA application to find out, what you might be eligible for as far as grants and things like that from the federal government. But if you'll do that, and if you're eligible for that financial assistance, we'll make up the difference to get you enrolled at Mesa Community College for 2 years. So it's a wonderful idea that's been very successful in other parts of the United States, and it's something that we can do. So, but between the city of Mesa is very much a partner in this, and we're contributing some money to this program. But equally important is the support of the business community, because we're trying to raise as much money from philanthropy as the city is contributing for this to be successful. And I've been involved in that fundraising, and it's going very, very well. We're going to be announcing some very generous contributions from some of the large corporations in the city of Mesa. And this is an idea that needs to really be established and be long lasting and be the new normal in the city of Mesa. We want it to be self-sustaining and to be a foundation that, doesn't go away when those of us that are excited about this idea, aren't in office anymore. So, but again, we've already got it's starting a year from now, next fall. So the kids that are high school seniors right now, we're telling them, hey, apply for the Mesa College Promise Program, and we'll make sure that you can get in and out of Mesa Community College. Money won't be an excuse. So I'm very excited about it, and would appreciate everyone helping to get the word out. And if this is an issue that you're passionate about, we'd love to have you be a part of it as well. Bob, what was the other issue we were talking about? We have dementia. The other day,
Well
Sally sent me
played, sir. Well played.
That was totally not a calculated setup. The other day, Sally sent me a message about, hey, did you remember when I was talking to you about dementia? And I just thought that was so funny. You know, how could I dare say no? I don't remember you asking me about dementia. But last night at our city council meeting, we issued a proclamation kind of joining Mesa to be a dementia-friendly city, and having a partnership, you know, with the chamber and with the providers, the nonprofits in our community, to be more supportive of families and individuals that are confronted with dementia. So this is modeled somewhat after, you know, the initiative that we've been going with for the last year or so on being an autism-friendly community. That's paid some great dividends. I mean, I've had lots of, you know, national reporters, you know, call me and ask me questions about this autism-friendly certification that we've got, and we want to do the same thing with the dementia-friendly program as well. So I think it's raising awareness. It's like I said, part of this disconnected seniors issue that we started out this conversation with. You know, there's a tremendous need out there for supporting members of our community that are struggling with dementia, and families that need assistance, need some respite care, and need some community support. So I'm excited to be a part of it, and coincidentally, it was just last night that we issued that proclamation, and we're looking forward to working with the providers in the city to partner with them.
Cool. So I know you're probably pressed for time, so I don't necessarily want to keep you any longer than we have to. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this back over to Sally to kind of wrap up, and thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure. It's been fun to be with you.
Mayor, it's always good to see you, and I know that our businesses appreciate all that you do. We'll find another time to do another Java. Obviously, there's always new things going on, so we want to bring you back so you can give more updates. But thank you again for last night. I know that the dementia-friendly cities is important to our community. We do have, you know, in some of our areas, an older population, and we do have a lot of our members that work with the aging population, so it means a lot. And we will be doing ongoing training for anybody and everybody who wants to either personally get trained or have their you know, staff get on the calls and get trained. So with that, Mayor, unless you have anything else, we'll go ahead and end the call. It's 9:01, and congratulations again. We appreciate you and all you do for Mesa. Anybody else? Stephen, Felicia, thank you very much for sponsoring this morning.
Thanks to the chamber for being such a great part of our community and getting engaged in these issues.
We just want to really thank Mayor Giles, because we really miss Java with Giles. We liked having that chance to see what's going on, and we love you, and we think you're doing a great job. So we appreciate you.
Thank you. Likewise.
You're not alone, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right. With that, everybody have a great day.